All right, today in the shop, we've got the daughter's Fiat 500 Abarth. She was driving down the road the other night and got a flashing CEL as the vehicle felt like it was losing power climbing a hill. Good on her as an 18-year-old. She immediately took the first exit she could find and got herself parked in a gas station parking lot. Uh, move the vehicle, I don't know, less than a half mile, and then got on the horn with me. I came over, took a look, and we towed her home. So we're going to crack into it today. But first, I'm going to show you something pretty disappointing to me about the XTool D7. So, of course, when I went to meet my daughter, I took my trusty favorite scan tool, right? Um, and despite a flashing CEL, which always indicates, some type of serious malfunction, we couldn't pull any codes. There were no codes present, DTCs in the car, which was kind of blowing my mind. And the eagle-eyed among you are going to notice some updates are due. So before I get comments on that, I'll just show you. Those updates have nothing to do with my Fiat. That's a Nissan and an Infiniti update that needs to run, and I'll run that at some point. But I don't own either of those makes. So I always check my updates to make sure that whatever brand of car I'm looking at is updated and that my base software is updated. Both were true, and this tool could not find the codes. I've confirmed that in 4 different tests now. So guess what tool did find it? Once I got home, I pulled out my $25 Conway, and sure enough, we've got a cylinder 4 misfire. That's a P0304 on this vehicle. So the XTool was going to miss a very, very key DTC. Fortunately, flashing CEL, and pretty much anybody who's been around a misfired engine, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can smell it. There was no doubt there was a misfire, but I'm still just extremely disappointed that XTool couldn't see it. $25 Conway, saw it right off the bat. Okay, as a first step, what we've done is just taken out the air box and the intake piping, and we've just swung the box over. Basically, there's some free play back here on these vacuum hoses that'll let you situate that up and out of the way. This can get you into your coils and plugs, which is what we want to look at. So starting from the crank side, cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is our suspect cylinder. Now, one of the things that I have definitely heard about with these little Barths is this air oil separator. There's an O-ring. See if I can get you in here with a light. There's an O-ring back here that can leak, and that leakage can end up dumping oil down into the spark plug well. And so that was one thing I was cautioned by some friendly Abarth folks in the forums to look out for. Now I do see, if you pick up on it right there, I do see just a spot of oil, and if we look around, there's some residue right there, some residue back in here, deeper down in that well I see some residue. So that O-ring is slightly suspect, and while I'm in here dinking around with the rest of this problem, I probably will replace that O-ring, but I don't see yet, we'll pull the coil, I don't see yet anything significant enough coming out of that separator that would be dumping oil in a quantity that would foul the plugs from up here. So in any event, we're going to get in there and find out. One more step here before we open it up, and we are going to look at all the wiring to the coil, any sign of damage, any sign of loose fit, anything in the electrical connection that could be causing it not to fire. And as we peel this apart, we'll study this connector real well before we go in and take a look at the spark plug. Okay, yeah, so these pens, if you can see them, these are nice and clean, crispy. You know, this connector is nice and clean and crispy. This is only a 64,000 mile engine, so I wasn't too suspicious of wiring or physical connection problems on something this new ish. New in my terms. I try to get a couple 100,000 miles out of my cars, but yeah, I really wasn't suspecting any kind of physical electrical issue, and sure enough, I don't see any signs of that. So we're gonna go ahead and get at this coil, get the plug out, take a look at that. Okay, with this coil out of the way, we're gonna come back in and talk about the theory of the O-ring under the air oil separator fouling. And again, I mean, I just see light evidence of oil seepage. I wouldn't really call it a leak, I'd call it a seep out of that AOS. You know, we're definitely gonna want to clean this up while we're in here, and we will. I certainly don't see signs that significant oil has been pulling here or getting down in. Spark plug well looks clean, top's kind of grimy. And so we'll get some shop air and clean all this up before we pull that plug and get inside. Okay, this is something we didn't necessarily want to see, but we've definitely got some oil fouling and some gunk here on this plug. And we do have it up around the top threads as well. Maybe internet guy was right and there is a slow seep of oil. I don't know. Thinking about that. We're gonna go inside with a bore scope. We're gonna look in the cylinder. If in the cylinder is not looking terribly oily, maybe we are back to the top. We'll have to think our way through that. We'll take a look. Okay, we've pulled the rest of the plugs. 1 and 2 are carbon fouled. Not a surprise on this little Fiat. It's near its interval for plug change anyway. But 3 and 4 are oil fouled. We've got wet oil on both. So we'll take a peek with the bore scope and think our way through where this oil's getting in. All right, after studying our plugs and the position of which ones are taking in oil, we've developed a 3-step plan after studying the shop manual for a while, studying some forum comments, watching a couple YouTubes, just spent some think time on it and putting it all together. I got a 3-stage plan. So stage 1, I'm gonna service the air oil separator. So we're gonna take the separator completely off. We're gonna pull the PCV valve off of this. When we do, we will clean this entire unit out with brake clean. We'll put a new PCV valve in. And most importantly, underneath, we're going to replace that O-ring. I'm actually going to pull this off in a minute and inspect that O-ring. But step 1, service that AOS, put the car back together, drive it a few hundred miles, pull these plugs again, re-inspect, and see if perhaps that doesn't solve our problem completely. Now, if we do all that in a few hundred miles, we have oil appearing again, then we're going to go after these spark plug tubes. The spark plug tubes are cheap, and I'd probably go after them right now, frankly, except good amount of labor to get to them. There's a lot of stuff in the way that has to come off to get that valve cover off and get in there and replace those tubes. So that is the reason for trying the air oil separator as a step 1. saving the spark plug tubes for a step 2. And we'll do the same thing there. If step 1 doesn't work, we move to step 2. After that, we'll drive the car a few hundred miles, we'll pull everything back apart, and we'll reinspect. And finally, if we had to, we would go deeper in the gasket steps. You know, getting down even to a head gasket if we have to. But hopefully, we're not going to have to go that deep. Hopefully, we're going to catch it here in step 1 or step 2. So that is the plan. All right, we got that air oil separator out. And this is the O-ring that right now I suspect is the culprit of the whole situation. So we're going to pick up those parts from Mopar. Right now I've not put the vehicle back together. I've just set some things in place. We're going to push the vehicle out of the garage for tonight till I got parts. We will end part 1 of this video right here. And I'll append on here what's the 3-step process we're going to take next. And then I'll post a later video, let you guys know how it went. But I believe this O-ring may be at the heart of a cylinder 4 misfire on a Fiat 500 Abarth. We'll see. So we've diagnosed the source of our misfire as oil entering cylinders 3 and 4, fouling the plug, and 4. We'll service the air oil separator and see if that solves our problem. We'll drive the vehicle for 200 or 300 miles, pull the plugs, take a look again. If the plugs are still getting oil, we'll go to step 2 and replace the spark plug tubes. Same drill, drive the car a few hundred miles, pull the plugs again, see if that solves it. And hopefully 1 and 2 are going to knock it out. If not, we'll need to dig a little deeper. I will post a follow-up video after step 1 is complete, and we will go from there. So see you guys on the next one, but this was a diagnosis on a P0304 Fiat 500 Abarth.